I'm going to spend just 5 minutes with everybody now. I'm going to put this down. If you'd like to sit down, Stephen, we don't have all that much time in a situation like this. Don't put the viola away though, because I'm going to get you to do a little exercise with me. But I wanted to set this up so that everybody who's playing can have a little look at how it works. I find that vibrato generally is something that people have. Some people, depending on the level that we're talking about, the playing level, you're all of a very high level. This is a tertiary education institution, and we are beyond beginners. Nevertheless, a lot of players have a vibrato that is either on or off. And if you go to an orchestral session or something like that, and you're playing something slightly baroque, and the conductor says, okay, no vibrato, that's pretty easy for everybody to do. Might not be very well in tune, but it's easy to say, okay, I'm playing without vibrato. And baroque music really requires it to a great extent. You can colour it a little bit according to this decade's rules on the legitimate interpretation of Bach. Next decade it'll be a different set of rules. It's changing constantly. What I want to talk about today is the differences in colours that you can create with different kinds of vibrato. There are two major elements in vibrato that we have total control of. One, of course, this isn't a school lesson, I'm not going to say what are they, and ask you. One is the speed of the vibrato, and the other element, the other variable that we have control over is the amplitude, how wide it is. There are other things that we can look at as well, all sorts of things, placement of bow, and speed of bow can actually affect the quality of a vibrato as well, but that's getting more advanced. These two basic variables are so basic that we've all forgotten about them. And I have to force myself often to do these exercises that I'm about to show you, just to put myself back in touch with the huge number of colours that we can access if we know how to. And the familiarity of where these colours are and how we can achieve them quickly is paramount. It's the most important thing, because everybody who's a performer here today knows how absolutely terrifying it is to get up in front of an audience and play. I don't think I'd get a single person here who could honestly tell me that they love it and it's fun and they enjoy it. We love what we do. I always come off stage with a good feeling and think, oh, I'm so glad I did that and what a great concert. But doing it, actually going through the preparation, getting up that morning, making sure you eat the right lunch. Am I going to eat a banana for the potassium before I go on stage? Or I am a bit shaky, I better have my banana. Whatever you need to do to get yourself ready to perform, it's not easy. And it's something that is incredibly distracting. It'll distract you from your everyday life. It'll distract you from how you treat the people around you, because you're under pressure. You're about to perform. Nobody likes that feeling. And if you're not prepared, actually really technically prepared for the performance you're about to do, nerves can become really debilitating. I personally have a feeling that anyone who says they never get nervous is a liar. I don't want in any way to be disrespectful, but I honestly think that we all get nervous. We all do. The problems are, how can we hide that, or how can we put it to a point where it's working for us? Nervous energy, nervous tension can also be a positive thing. It can make what we do musically more interesting. Unfortunately, more commonly, it switches us off. The nerves, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. If you're nervous, a number of different things can start happening, and it's all totally individual depending on how you're built, how you work, how you tick. Some people start feeling sick. Some people start shaking. That's a very common one, just simply the bow shakes. Some people sweat. Some people have mental blackouts where they just suddenly think, oh my God, where am I? What am I doing? And have no idea, and they come off stage. Oh, how did it go? I have absolutely no idea. I don't know what I played and how it went. Nerves can really hit hard. This exercise, to come full circle, helped me a lot, because when I was playing and I was nervous and I was under pressure, I became aware that my vibrato became very, very fast and very tight. And it's what I call an electric bell kind of vibrato. It's just, it's there and it's fast and there's nothing you can do about it. It does tend to cause nervous reactions, that kind of vibrato, because you can't switch it off. It's there, and the more nervous it gets, it's infectious. So I put together this little exercise that put me in touch with the different possibilities that I have with vibrato. And the more I did it, the more capable I became of understanding exactly where that vibrato, that colour, if you like, can be found, and how I can achieve it even when I'm under pressure. Even when I'm standing in front of people playing a Brahms sonata and I think to myself, oh, I'm really not comfortable here. And it could be anything. You could wake up in the morning and argue with your partner, or your dad rings you up and gets pissed off with you, and you go on stage with a bad feeling. Life is life, and everything can happen. But having tricks like this where you can say, okay, I'm not feeling good, and it's sounding tight, and it's not sounding romantic enough, and it's not sounding relaxed enough. If I can say, but I know exactly what to do to change the colour and to create a much more comfortable feeling, then I have won an enormous battle. And I just want to show you this. It's not a difficult exercise to understand, but it is a real brain teaser when you actually try to do it. And I'm going to use Stephen again in a minute just to show you what that is. All right, so what I do, I'll just put this here so anyone can photograph it afterwards if you want to. I'm going to make two. We could compare them perhaps to the slides that a sound engineer has on his mixing desk. Now, the first one, the first dial is the speed, and this one is the width. Now, with our two slides here, we've got on the speed dial, slow and fast. On the width dial, we've got wide and narrow. For the purposes of this exercise, I'm going to put two in the middle here and just call them medium. Now, of course, it's not just 1, 2, 3 points on each slide. It's just exactly the same as a mixing desk. You would have really, literally, all these options here on both sides, all the way up to the top. Now, the exercise is simple. You choose any finger and any position. It really doesn't matter, any string. It's important to do this exercise with all 4 fingers, and it doesn't matter which string you use. The first thing to do is to choose one of these two dials and decide on an element from that. Let me say I'm going to take my speed dial and I'm going to fix my speed at fast. The concept now of this exercise is that I have cemented my speed of my vibrato at fast. That's not going to change. My beginning point will be down at the bottom of the other slide. So I'm going to be working on this slide here. This one stays fast. So my first point of reference is a fast and wide vibrato. we get into all sorts of problems because I say fast, wide vibrato, everybody says, yeah, I know what that is, that's no problem. I can do a fast, wide vibrato. But you have to decide two things first. You have to decide what your parameters are. How fast can you vibrate? How slow can you vibrate? How wide can you vibrate? And how narrow can you vibrate? The width is less important than the speed. Speed is limited. A very fast vibrato is actually something that on the viola is very rarely used, but sometimes you might need it. A slow vibrato is used much more often on a vibrato, but it is incredibly difficult to find if you're nervous. So this is what I'm doing this for. All right, we're not doing slow here. I'm starting fast and wide. All right, a fast vibrato for me, I have to decide how fast can I make my maximum. I don't think I'd ever feel more comfortable vibrating faster than that. That would be an incredibly energetic thing for me to do. Perhaps in some modern music it might be useful. A Bartók concerto, occasionally for a couple of notes I might try to do something even faster than that. But for the purposes of this exercise, I think that would be fast enough. Wide. How wide can I play? Wider than that I wouldn't want to be doing because it would start to sound a little bit sick. And you also have some movement, some displacement of the fingers. If I go any wider than that, that's not a real vibrato anymore. It's so as wide as you can get it where it's still natural. While I'm talking about parameters, we will change everything around and go up and down the speed dial in a minute. Speed is another thing. If you think about a fast vibrato, a very fast vibrato creates an immediate kind of attention anyway, regardless of width, because it's just a lot of effort. You've got to do a lot of exercise. The slow vibrato down here is the only point that I'd ask you to be careful about, because the limit in speed when you're going down with a vibrato is really without end. The trouble is that I would prefer your slowest vibrato in this exercise to be an automatic movement still. And everyone knows what I'm talking about. If you have a slow vibrato, if I played slower than that, it would start to become a movement where I actually have to do each wave. And I want to avoid that. So your slowest point on your speed dial should be the point where you don't have to go into absolutely individual movements. There's still an automatic waving thing. All right, so the exercise is basically this. I've cemented my fast vibrato speed. I start off with a wide, fast vibrato, and I pretend that I'm the sound engineer, and I just gradually go up the slide to narrow and back down the slide to wide, all the time maintaining an absolutely fixed fast vibrato. So I'm starting fast and wide. Let's see if I can get that coordinated in my head. It's a lot of effort because I'm moving fast and I'm moving wide. What I'm going to do is gradually go up to the top of this line and back down again without changing the speed. So the width of the vibrato will gradually get narrower and the speed won't be affected. Then it'll come back down again and it'll get wider again. So I'm starting slow and wide. Fast and wide, sorry. And so I've covered basically that one. I can immediately now just do the precise opposite on the same thing. Say I'm going to fix my speed at a slow speed. All right, I need to say, as I said before, what is the slow speed that I can be comfortable with? Still an automatic movement. That's good and slow. So what am I doing now? I'm down here, slow and wide. I have to go up my width slide, right up to narrow and back down to wide, but never getting faster. So I've decided it's going to be slow from the beginning to the end of this exercise. Slow and wide. And I'm going to get narrower. And wider. Seems so simple to do. I'm going to ask Stephen to stand up again here now, and we'll see. He's probably a clever boy. We're going to manage this. It is essential when you do start to do this exercise that you have this piece of paper in front of you, because it's so easy to get lost. You think, okay, it's a simple concept to understand in our heads, but as soon as you start actually doing it, you say, oh, wait, what's getting faster? What's getting wider? Where am I going? Just look at it on the piece of paper and it will be easier. I'm going to swap everything around for you. I'm going to take a narrow width. Show me a vibrato with very narrow width. Good, good, all right. Now, our width has been cemented at narrow, so your starting point is really here, narrow and slow, which is pretty much what you just did. Okay, so give me a narrow, slow vibrato and just see what that looks like. Can you make it slower than that? Yes. Still an automatic movement, but as slow as you can get it. That's good. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm gently going to go up and down this slide, and you follow my finger until you get to the speed. The width may not change. It's always going to be narrow, okay? You won't have any trouble going up. As you get faster, you shouldn't get wider, but coming back down again, you'll have a very strong desire to get wider with your vibrato, but you may not. We're stuck here at narrow, okay? So we're starting slow and narrow, and your only thing to do is to get faster with that narrow vibrato, okay? So you go ahead. Get wider, just get slower. Excellent, very well done, very well done. You can go up and down, you can go starting at the top and going to the top and down to the bottom, you can change things around. Eventually, if you do this and you do it very carefully and you make sure that each little exercise that you do you're satisfied with, that you haven't actually crisscrossed some of these things over, you'll end up with every possible option, and it's just this net. And when I first showed this exercise to my teacher, well after I got back to Vienna from Milan, I was actually my original professor's assistant at the school in Vienna for the first 10 years of the job, and that was great because he taught me an enormous amount about what I know. And I showed him this exercise, and he said, oh, this is really good, you know, so simple, but not so easy to do. And then he started talking about chemist shops, you know, like not drugstores. Everything's different in every country you go to. If you've got something wrong with you here in New York and you go to a doctor and you get a prescription, then you can go to any of the drugstores and there's a prescription desk down the back and they'll fill your prescription for you. And they look like supermarkets. You can buy anything in these stores. If you go to Europe, a chemist shop, the actual apotheke shop, is not a shop. You go in there and you get your prescriptions. They might have a few things on the counter, packets of tissues, perhaps some, you know, something to suck on if you've got a sore throat. But it is basically more like a doctor's office than anything else. And some of these chemist shops, especially in Vienna, are centuries old, 200, 300, 400 years old. And you walk in and you realize, my God, this is ancient. And there are apothecary drawers behind the bench, floor to ceiling, with all the medicines in them. And of course, the chemists, they know where all the medicines are kept. And there's actually labels on them too. So even if you're a new person in this chemist and somebody comes along, but my teacher, he was fascinated by this. He says, imagine you've got a sore throat and your ear is blocked and maybe you've got a slight sinus infection. So your doctor's given you something to suck on for the throat and maybe to stop the cough, and oh, you need some antibiotics for that ear infection, and the sinus, yeah, we'll give you something to dry that up. Yep, it's all on the prescription here. And then they look at this and they go, okay, so we need a packet of this, and yep, packet of this one here, and they're reaching all over in these drawers which hold the medicines that are required for the ailment that you've got. Very similar things here. If you're nervous and you're standing on stage and you're playing, let us say for example, the second movement of the Arpeggione Sonata, which starts want to have a vibrato that maybe isn't static all the way through, because it's a phrase, it's living music, and the vibrato has to really, really reflect the phrase. However, as I said at the beginning of this talk, nerves get in the way of everything. And we stand up and perform a piece like this. I'm not talking specifically to you. You had excellent nerves. This is a slow start in the Schumann as well. But how often, for me anyway, how often have I stood up and found myself playing this incredibly tight, incredibly fast vibrato that belongs up here, narrow and fast. And I couldn't do anything about it. I said, I'm not comfortable, I'm nervous, I want this to be finished, and so I can go off stage and go home and let someone else play. But as soon as you've familiarized yourself with this, you know, just like the chemist does, exactly where that medicine is. What do I actually want for the beginning of the Arpeggione Sonata? What kind of a vibrato sound would I like to have? For me, it would be probably down here at slow, because I don't want any excitement in what I'm doing here, and perhaps slightly off narrow. If it's too narrow and too slow, then it's perhaps not expressive enough. But I would widen it out on a long note because it's more of an expression thing. This exercise will put you in touch with what you can do. Everybody here in this room, I'm sure, could go through this exercise and feel perfectly comfortable about it. It doesn't happen on the first day. It took me about 2 weeks before I felt I was really comfortable with it. But it was astounding how quickly it changed the way I played when I was under pressure. Because that's what we hate. We get up and you practice it in your living room at home, in your dorm room, wherever you are, and it works every single time and it sounds great. And you think, yep, I'm ready to perform. And you get up in front of your colleagues or whoever else and everything goes to hell. And you think, why? I practiced it so well. And I practiced it really so that it was great 12 times out of 10 and not just 10 times out of 10. And then that 13th time I come in here and stuff everything up. It's a lack of knowledge about what you can do, and the familiarity is an amazing thing because it beats nerves. If you know what the feeling is, even if you're feeling sick, even if you've got nausea or shaking or mental blanks, if you're familiar with that, you can change it instantly, even under the greatest of pressure. And for me, I don't know how it is for you guys, but as soon as I change my sound in a positive way, everything gets better. If I'm playing anywhere, whether it be in an orchestra or in a quartet or a solo or a concerto or whatever, I'm listening to my sound all the time. If I'm not happy with it, and I can manage to actually get the strength of mind to change the sound that I'm making, as soon as I am happy with it, everything else falls into place. I get this feedback of my own sound and I think, yes, that's what I want. And my body relaxes and then all the problems are over. The nervousness hits me every time for about 6 or 7 minutes. And after that, I can enjoy a 2-hour performance without really any problems at all. This exercise helped me enormously, and I hope it can help you all too. Please don't ever try to do it off by heart. Don't ever do it just while you're warming up in a room somewhere, unless you've got this with you. because it really is important to actually look at where you are and make sure you don't get lost. Otherwise you find yourself crisscrossing between the two dials there. All right, took a long time to explain, a very simple method, but nobody does this stuff. I'm really staggered everywhere I go, every country I teach in. It's pretty much the same. I have ideas about levels, student levels, and I really have taught in many, many countries in the world, and generally the student level is fairly uniform at a specific age, between the age of say 16, 17 and 23, 24. The general level of student playing is going to be pretty much the same wherever you come from. You'll get stars and you'll get some that are slightly weaker, that's quite normal. But it's fascinating to me how some things are absolutely universal. And this vibrato question is a universal thing. It's a problem with violinists, it's a problem with cellists. I give this to any string player and it is so useful. We can create colours that we need. If I start any piece whatsoever, I would never play the beginning of an E-flat Brahms. I want an inviting and joyous vibrato. That might be wider. And the release a little bit narrower or a little bit slower. I could go through it analytically and actually decide with every bar what kind of vibrato I want to do. I don't need to do that anymore because I do have this control. This exercise has given me control, so I can actually do it without having written in the part. Slower vibrato, faster vibrato, wider vibrato, narrower vibrato. Just familiarise yourself with what's available and then use your own good taste, okay, to decide what you want to do. Great, thanks Stephen, wonderful playing as well.